day before New Year's Eve. And we are gonna make some popcorn chicken and shrimp today. The way I'm gonna zhuzh it up for you though is that the shrimp is gonna get a bath in some panko and coconut. Keeping it tropical. And then I'm gonna show you a bomb sauce to dip everything into. It's heady, it's indulgent, it's fast, it's crunchy, crispy, fried, delicious, and it's gonna take you into 2022 with so much delicious inspiration. Let's go. Okay, first up, we gotta make the chicken nuggets. So I'm using boneless, skinless chicken breast today. Just wanna slice it up into like bite-sized pieces. So call it, 2-inch little bites like this. You want it to be large enough that they're gonna stay juicy, but really all that matters is to make sure they are evenly sized throughout so that everything cooks quickly and evenly in your hot oil. 2 chicken breasts is not gonna make enough for my whole family, but this is just to show you the technique. And you can obviously expand away from here. All right, chicken is off to the side. One thing you wanna do always before you fry anything, especially using this dredge technique that we're gonna do today, is to ensure that it is well patted dry in advance of going into the bath of egg flour, because you want the flour to really bind to the surface of this chicken and start to create that crispy layer. And if it's wet, it's gonna slip away. Dry. Drying our shrimp, drying our chicken. And this is some lovely, like medium, probably U30 shrimp. Really tender. It's been deveined and cleaned for me already. Okay, set your protein off to the side. Let's make your gorgeous flour dredge. Now we're gonna work everything together at the outset, and then I will actually divide it up and you'll have separate dredges for the shrimp and the chicken, just to keep it all safe and sanitary. And also so you can change the flavor a little bit, between the two. So the first thing I have is 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And if you don't have the cornstarch that I'm about to add, or rice flour, which is also a really nice way to add like a really crispy, crunchy coating, no worries at all. You can definitely do it all just using the all-purpose flour, which is great. This is a pretty simple, straightforward battering technique that still gives you utterly delicious, crispy, crunchy coating. Largely because the flavorings are irresistible. So what I have before you is a whole bunch of onion powder, a whole bunch of garlic powder, some paprika, and some cayenne. Because part of what makes this chicken so addictive is that there is a little lingering heat from cracked pepper, yes, but also from like that cayenne. The cayenne is the move. Okay, so I have 4 cups of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of cornstarch. The cornstarch definitely helps to just really nicely coat your chicken or your shrimp, but it also stays super light and airy as it fries, so you get this gorgeous like shard experience. Onion powder, I will say, for me is an absolute must with my chicken, especially because it sweetens as it cooks. There's something obviously oniony but sweet about it. It's gorgeous. The garlic powder gives that great pungency. The paprika is also similarly a little bit sweet but gives you this great color to the mix, and also a little bit of that just like undernote of pepperiness. And then the cayenne obviously brings you what you need. Okay, just want to bring those together. You can use a whisk here. And of course, the most critical piece of any delicious fry batter, salt. Lots of it. Nearly 3 tablespoons. I went 2 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons to rein it in for you. But you could do 3 tablespoons and it would probably be fine. You need that salt. You need that salt coating every little piece at every layer so that what is a truly quite simple recipe remains intriguing, tantalizing, enticing, and exciting. And by the way, guys, I have the oil heating here over like a medium heat. I'm trying to get it to 350. If you have a fry thermometer, absolutely use it. I don't know why I'm always without a thermometer. So I'm just gonna test it and make sure that it's not heating too much or smoking. 6 eggs, let's crack them. Wouldn't that be fun? The triple hand crack. 3. I'm having a real day today, guys. But you know what? Fried popcorn chicken and shrimp always makes it better. Just go ahead and smack those eggs up, break apart those yolks, and then just get it nice and fluffy. Okay, I'm gonna add just a little pepper to the eggs. I'm not gonna salt them because we already have plenty of salt in the flour, but I find a little pepper in this portion of the battering. Coats the chicken nicely, gives you that little bit of peppery pop that you want. Just do make sure that their pepper is finely ground for this stage because nobody wants to bite into like a big piece of pepper here. We're not looking for cracked pepper experience. We just want pepperiness throughout. So I probably added half a teaspoon, maybe less, a quarter teaspoon of finely ground pepper. No need to overkill. And just whisk that in. Now I am gonna separate into two separate bowls for chicken versus shrimp. Let's separate half our flour mix into this bowl and half our egg mix into this bowl. Perfect. Okay, we're ready to begin. So the first thing we do is grab our chicken that is nicely patted dry. So here's your step for breading your chicken. Grab a nice little medallion into your flour mix first and just give it a quick little toss in here to coat all the sides. And then you want to shake away any excess, drip away any excess egg. And the initial flour coating really helps that egg to bind and create that nice little thin layer that adds flavor, but also really helps you to develop this crispy, crunchy coating. What I am doing is kind of pressing little extra bits of flour on in hopes that that egg wash also helps to create those nice little shards we're talking about. You want a little, that like nice little crackly piece. So you can go ahead and do it more than one at a time. Add all your chicken into your bowl. And this is also going to be great because as the chicken comes out of the egg wash, it's going to bring a little bit of that moisture back to the bowl. And as the moisture from the egg combines with our flour mix, that's when we're going to get those gorgeous shards of fried, crispy batter to start to form. So tossing it in the eggs, dripping away any excess into your flour again. So this first little bit of the chicken that has already been into the egg and the flour is great because as it sits in that flour that I just worked through, it's wet down a couple pieces of our flour and made us those nice little shards, which is exactly what we want to give ourselves the most crackly, crispy, crunchy shards after that fry. You can see those little crackly pieces forming there. And just, make sure that as you pull it out of the flour mixture for the last time, shake away any excess, but definitely coat all the sides. All right, last little bits going in, and then we're gonna fry some chicken and work our way through the shrimp. Okay, I turned the stove off just because we were taking a little longer and I was chatting and I didn't want the oil to overheat, but it was already pretty hot, so let's just see where we're at now. The surface will shimmer a little bit, but it's a pretty deep fry. So we've got at least probably 2 inches of oil here so that nothing's gonna stick to the bottom. We're gonna get that perfect 360-degree bath with hot refined avocado oil. You can use peanut oil, which is sort of like the classic deep fried oil. Anything with a really high smoke point is what you're going for. So refined does help with that. Coconut oil. Vegetable oil. If you would like to use that, you can. I try not to cook too much with vegetable oil. Let's just test. So what we want is to just grab like a little piece of the shard that we sort of had in there. And ooh, girl, look at that. Here we go. Okay, we are good to fry. Let's go in. Always lay your chicken away from you into the oil so it doesn't splatter at you. As the chicken sits with that bath of flour and egg, those shards start to form even better. You get that wonderful textured coating. And we're gonna work in 2 batches because I don't wanna overcrowd the pan or risk dropping the oil temperature down. Our chicken was sitting on the counter for about 20 minutes before I breaded it so that it wasn't super cold out of the fridge, but work in 2 batches just to make sure. Actually, I can fit one more guy right here. So these should fry up at that 350 temperature in like 3 to 4 minutes. They cook fast. Obviously it's just chicken breast, so there's no bone or anything that would take it longer to cook. What I did want to tell you about cornstarch in this flour batter, you can definitely leave it out if you don't have it, but why it's so great when you're deep frying is number one, it actually kind of works like a desiccant. It draws moisture away, so you do get that light, crispy coating. And number two is apparently it actually helps inhibit gluten formation with the flour. So instead of getting like a chewy texture, you get a really crackly, almost like shortbread type of texture where that really short gluten is there and it's just crisp and tender, like pie crust. I do have a spider, and you can just use tongs if you want to, but come and see already, even just, a minute or so in, look at these shards happening. Hello, friends. And just sort of flip them around. You don't want to stir too much because you don't want to disrupt any of that glorious coating. But we are getting good. You want a lined baking sheet with paper towel ready for when you pull hot chicken out of the fryer or the shrimp next, to help absorb any of that excess oil and keep them very light and crisp. So you can see our chicken is getting gloriously golden brown. My favorite way to test and see if they're done is to take one out, cut it in half, make sure it is opaque all the way through, but still juicy, which it is. Do you see the steam rising? I would argue there are very few things in life as delicious as freshly fried chicken. Spread them on your lined baking sheet. Oh, yum. That breast meat stays really juicy and hydrated because we're not cooking it too long. And of course, make sure you hit them with a little bit more salt right out of that hot oil. And we are going to quickly get our next batch in. Let's make some shrimp. Same process as we had before, where we go flour, egg wash, but then the third step, I'm gonna spice it up on you a little bit. We are going to do a cup of panko breadcrumbs and 3/4 of a cup of shredded coconut. You can absolutely use the sweetened shredded coconut if you want that like really bright, punchy coconut flavor, but I had the unsweetened kind, and that's mainly gonna act as like a secondary texture more than any sweetness, with a very mild coconutty flavor coming through. So that's our third step after the egg wash. And I would opt for plain panko breadcrumbs, gluten-free. Panko breadcrumbs are great as well. Shrimp to the flour. And these, of course, we patted dry as well, so they are going to stick with this flour nicely. I left the tails on mainly just for fun and because I didn't feel like taking them off, but if you want to, you can, and then they become even more poppable. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your shrimp. And you can use a fork if you have it handy, just to help you if you care about not getting your fingers dirty, but obviously I don't. Into your egg mix. Drip, drip, drip into your panko and coconut flake. And do take your time and make sure that you get all sides of the shrimp coated in this egg wash. You don't want any bald spots as it gets coated with the panko next. Every little inch of this tender, mild, sweet, fresh shrimp should be coated in flavor perfection. Toss, toss, toss. Oh, guys. Coconut panko crusted fried shrimp coming your way. And obviously the panko and the coconut give you that nice shard quality that we worked to achieve with the flour. Look at this. Look at this number. In the same oil. Again, working in batches to make sure that our oil stays up to temperature. If your oil was looking a little dark or like there was lots of burned pieces or things left behind, you would want to change your oil out because badly flavored oil will definitely impact the flavor of your shrimp because the shrimp is so mild and sweet on its own. So just make sure the oil looks fine. Ours does. These guys will fry up fast. These guys are going to be done in like a minute or two. So after just a minute, you can see the shape has already changed. You're going to know your shrimp is ready to go when it is completely opaque all the way cooked through, and you want to stop it before it gets to like a tight O shape because that means you're going to have a little bit tough overcooked shrimp. You want it just like a nice loose C. And you can see we still have a little bit longer to go. It's still a little bit translucent here at the center. Yeah, a little bit longer to go. I'm not gonna waste these pieces, popping them back in. Let's try it again, because with fresh seafood, a difference of seconds is what we're talking about. Hit it with the salt. So let's just cut into one of these guys so you can see what it will look like when it's perfectly cooked. Opaque all the way through to the center, but still nice and juicy looking. Crispy, crackly, golden brown coating. And the steam. Okay, I just have to say, the coconut on this mix comes through ever so slightly sweet. So much texture. Cooks so quickly. So when it comes to discarding your hot oil, let it cool completely on the stove. Little amounts of leftover oil, you can just drink it up with a paper towel and throw it in your trash. This is a lot of leftover oil, so once it's entirely cool, you can pour it into any old container, a jar, a takeout container, an old milk carton, and then just throw it in your trash. You do not ever put fat down drain. Don't do it. You'll spend the rest of your life with drain problems. And now let's make our special sauce. So while I did keep the batter and fry stage of our recipe quite simple, I'm gonna add a lot of things to this sauce, and I will tell you, none of them are hard to come by, and they all add a little something, and you are going to love. So the first thing we're gonna start with is some mayonnaise, and I'm not gonna give you exact proportions because it really is to taste and depends like how creamy or how tangy you want it, but I'm starting with a cup. That's what I start with. Yellow mustard. Start with 2 tablespoons, and we're gonna go back and adjust after we taste. All of the same spices we had in our flour mix, so starting with some paprika, a pinch of cayenne for a little heat coming through, some onion powder for a little of that sweet oniony hit. And you could also grate some onion in here or mince onion finely if you like the texture of that, and a little bit of garlic powder. And now for the fun stuff. We are going to add some sweet relish, which does add a little bit of texture and also sweet flavor, obviously. Let's start with a heaped, probably 2 tablespoons. We need some tang now to balance out the sweet that we got going on here. So let's go for 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar plus the juice and zest of 1 lemon. And since we are using the zest here, go for an organic lemon if you can find that, because you're just consuming the whole fruit. You don't want any exposure to pesticides that we don't need. Okay. Let's start with the juice of half the lemon first, because this is a very juicy citrus, and I don't want to have the richness of the mayonnaise portion of this mix feel overwhelmed. We can always add more if we deem we need it. Pinch of salt, call it a full teaspoon of salt. And I know what you're thinking. Sugar? Sugar, you say? Sugar, I say. Teaspoon of sugar. Because you want a little sweetness here, I'm telling you. There's your mix. And just stir it all up. The mustard, don't forget, does bring us a little peppery hit. And if you wanted to skip the seasonings that I added in, go ahead and give a squirt of your favorite hot sauce. Let's taste her. See how we're doing. Okay, we need a little bit more sweet relish. And the mustard is coming through beautifully. A little more salt and a little cracked pepper. Okay. This is the fun part. Tinker, test, taste, come alive with a creamy sauce. Oh, that's heavenly. You know, even though we didn't put Old Bay in that, there's like an Old Bay quality to it. Just gonna say. Obviously, I made a nice portion of this sauce so you can have little individual dipping bowls spread around your table. If perchance you were going to eat this mix at a table and not just nestle your sauce between your gloriously fried chicken and your golden brown crispy shrimp. All right, let's try the shrimp first. Now I gotta tell you, these little crinkly, crackly textured pieces in here are amazing when it comes to locking in the flavor of your dipping sauce and keeping this particular coating so light and airy. The sauce has plenty of lemon coming through, nice tart acidity from our vinegar. Oh, that is so good. It is so good. The lemon, critical. It cuts through some of the heaviness of fried food. That little bit of sugar from the sugar and the relish, sweetening everything up. Nice hits and balances of heat and spices. That is freaking delicious. One very good thing for those of you who maybe aren't like big into coconut is you don't taste the coconut coming through here. All you taste is like a faint sweetness, but really just extra crispy, crunchy, little airy bits. That adds so much texture to the shrimp. See that nice little crunch mountain right there? Crunch Mountain, brought to you by coconut. Chicken. Beautiful, tender center. What a glorious way to kick off your new year. Crispy, indulgent, sumptuous, luscious, luxurious, and most of all, delicious. Have a beautiful, happy new year. And double my recipe.